He was the first king Israel ever had. Tall, handsome, chosen by God, anointed by a prophet, given a kingdom that no one before him had ever held. And on the last night of his life he was crawling in the dark looking for a dead man. This is the story of King Saul and the Witch of Endor. And I promise you by the time we are done today you will understand something about desperation, disobedience, and the silence of God that will stay with you for the rest of your life. Let me take you back to the beginning so you understand how a king ends up here. Saul started well. He was everything Israel wanted. When the prophet Samuel first laid eyes on him, God said, "This is the one. Anoint him." And Samuel poured oil over his head and Saul became the first king of a nation.
My people, this victory is ours. Rejoice, for a new era begins.
But Saul had a problem that would follow him his entire life. He could not fully obey. Not because he was evil. Not because he did not believe. But because he kept letting fear and pressure and public opinion push him into making decisions God had not authorized. He obeyed, but never completely. He followed, but always with conditions. And God, who does not negotiate with partial obedience, began to pull away from him. The kingdom was torn from Saul and given to a young shepherd boy named David. And from that moment forward Saul's life became a slow and painful unraveling. He spent years hunting David through the wilderness trying to kill the very man God had chosen to replace him. He became paranoid, violent, tormented by an evil spirit that would come upon him in the dark hours of the night. And Samuel, the prophet who had anointed him, the man who was his spiritual father, the only voice that had ever truly guided him, Samuel died. And Saul was completely alone. Now the Philistines are gathering for war. Their army is enormous. They have spread out across the valley of Jezreel like a flood and Israel is terrified. Saul looks out at what is coming toward him and for the first time in his life as king the fear is so complete it reaches into his bones. He tries to pray. God does not answer. He asks the priests. Nothing. He inquires through dreams and prophets. Silence. Complete unbroken silence from heaven at the worst possible moment of his life. The kind of silence that is not absence, but judgment. And that silence drove Saul to do something he himself had forbidden. You need to understand this. Earlier in his reign Saul had been so devoted to God's law that he had expelled every medium and spiritist from the land of Israel. He had cleaned house. He had done what the law of Moses commanded and removed everyone who communicated with the dead. It was one of his genuine acts of faithfulness. And now on this dark night with the Philistines camped across the valley and God refusing to speak, Saul tells his servants to find him a woman who consults the dead. He is going to do the very thing he banned. He is going to the very people he expelled. His servants tell him there is a woman in Endor. So Saul disguises himself. He takes off his royal robes. He puts on ordinary clothes. He waits for night to fall and then he and 2 of his men travel through the dark to the town of Endor. He cannot let anyone know who he is. He cannot let this woman know she is looking at the king of Israel. Because the king of Israel ordered her kind to be killed. He knocks on her door in the middle of the night. He asks her to bring someone up from the dead. He tells her the name. Samuel. And the woman's first response is fear. She says, "Do you not know what the king has done? He has cut off the mediums and the spiritists from the land. Are you trying to trap me? Are you trying to get me killed?" And Saul swears to her, "As the Lord lives, no punishment will come to you for this. As the Lord lives." The man who is actively disobeying God swears an oath by God to protect the woman who is helping him disobey. The layers of contradiction in this moment are breathtaking. The woman performs her ritual. And then something happens that stops her cold. She screams. Not a theatrical response. Not part of the ceremony. She screams with genuine shock and terror and she turns to Saul and cries out, "Why did you deceive me? You are Saul. Whatever came up, whatever appeared to her in that moment, it revealed to her who she was really dealing with. The disguise meant nothing on the other side. Saul tells her not to be afraid and asks her what she sees. She says she sees an old man coming up wrapped in a robe. And Saul knew immediately. He fell face down on the ground with his full length stretched out before him. It was Samuel. And Samuel was not pleased to be disturbed. His first words are not comfort. Not greeting. Not warmth. He says, "Why have you disturbed me by bringing me up?" And Saul pours out everything. He tells Samuel about the Philistines. He tells him God has left him and will not answer through prophets or dreams. And then he says the most honest and broken thing he has said in his entire life. I am in great distress. He is not performing now. There is no audience. There is no throne. There is no crown in this dark room with a terrified medium and a dead prophet. There is just a man in great distress who has run out of every other option. And Samuel answers him. But the answer is not what Saul hoped for. Samuel says, "Why are you asking me since God has turned away from you and become your enemy? God has done exactly what he told you he would do through me when you were alive. He has torn the kingdom out of your hands and given it to David. You did not obey him. You did not carry out his judgment against Amalek. This is why this is happening to you." And then Samuel says the words that would have broken any man standing in that room. "Tomorrow, you and your sons will be with me." Saul collapsed. Full length on the ground. No strength left. He had not eaten all day and all night, and the weight of those words crushed what little was left standing in him. The woman, this woman the world would call a witch, this woman who had every reason to throw him out into the street, looked at the man on her floor and felt something human. She saw that he was terrified. She saw that he was broken. She went to him and told him to get up and eat. He refused. His servants joined her in urging him. And eventually she prepared food for the king of Israel on the last night of his life. A simple meal. In the home of the woman he should have had killed. He ate. He got up. He walked back out into the night. And the next day, exactly as Samuel said, the battle went against Israel. 3 of Saul's sons were killed. Saul himself was badly wounded by enemy archers, and rather than be captured and tortured he fell on his own sword. The first king of Israel died on a hill with his kingdom behind him and nothing ahead. Now I need you to sit with what this story is really about. Because it is not a story about witchcraft. It is not a story designed to make you afraid of the supernatural. This story is about what happens when a person spends a lifetime of almost obedience. Saul never fully rejected God. He never walked away and worshipped idols. He went to the prophets. He built altars. He fought God's battles. But he always kept one hand on the controls. He always made space for his own judgment alongside God's instructions. He always obeyed, up to the point where obedience became costly. And God is not interested in almost. The silence Saul experienced on that final night was not new. It was the accumulated result of years of half-obedience finally revealing itself at the moment when he needed God the most. You cannot spend a lifetime keeping God at arm's length and then expect him to be close when the darkness comes. And here is the part that should reach every single person watching this. The medium showed Saul more kindness on the last night of his life than almost anyone else in his story. The woman he had driven out of the land fed him when he fell. She urged him to eat when he had no strength. She cared for a broken king in the dark. God will sometimes use the most unexpected people to show grace to the most broken ones. Saul died the next day. But he did not die alone. He ate bread in a stranger's house, and he was carried through that final night by the hands of the very person he had tried to destroy. If you are watching this today and you recognize something of Saul in yourself, the partial obedience, the controlling, the following God on your own terms, hear this. The story of Saul is not in the Bible to condemn you. It is in the Bible to warn you early. While there is still time. While the Philistines are still across the valley and the silence has not yet become final. You do not have to end up on that hill. Drop a comment below and tell me which part of this story hit you the hardest. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. And if you are not subscribed yet, please do that now, because every single week we go deep into the Word together and there is always more waiting for you here on Bible Chronicles. Until next time. Stay rooted. Stay free. God bless you.